Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dad and Buried podcast. My name is Dad and Buried, also Mike. Sometimes I don't even really go by Mike anymore. I'm too famous,
Your
right?
kids call you dad. Your kids
My
call you
kids call me
dad and
Dad, but
Barry.
but they're calling me Dad and Buried. They're just
Right,
saying Dad, right? They
right,
know the
right, right,
drill.
right. In
Um,
fact, a lot of dads have actually assumed your handle and just kind
they
of
have,
shortened it.
right? Yeah, they've
Yeah.
appropriated it, but
hmm
with my blessing.
Right.
I'm kind
Right.
of a figurehead for the Dad movement, I think, online and off.
Yeah. But
And
like
you
the
are
dad,
Pete.
like sort of bowel movement. You know what I mean? I
You
think
know
that
what?
would probably
I
be
don't
the.
appreciate that.
I
I don't
think, but
appreciate that.
yeah, I think you do.
You
I think
think
you
I
can.
appreciate it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is Pete, my friend Pete, who
I'm
you're
Pete.
not a figurehead of anything, are you?
Well, no, I'm the founder and CEO of Corporate Video 2019. We shortened it to COVID-19, and it's
Oh,
trending.
how long
It's
did you
trending.
write that joke? Did you write that joke
So
beforehand?
I was going pretty big. 2020 is going to be our year, and yeah, things are really popping for here at COVID.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I see big
Corporate
things in your
Video.
future.
Yeah.
So speaking of disasters that we're all dealing with, how was Mother's Day?
Actually,
I saw her Instagram. She seemed pleased.
happy belated. Well, we said Happy Mother's Day before, but yeah, Mother's Day was great. We actually happened to really nail it. It was
You
good.
nailed it.
Yeah, got the everything went really well. Got the kids get let the mom let my wife sleep in. Cards are like right as she woke up, and then
So when did she? I
breakfast, the
saw
whole
her. She
thing.
showed an alarm clock, so she woke up at like 9,
9:30. Come
and
on.
she was like, "I haven't slept in this late in years." When does she usually get up?
I mean, when do we all get up? Like 8.
Well, these days during quarantine.
I know
Yeah.
these days it's amazing. I mean, these days it's well for me it's early. I mean late. Excuse me. We're up much later than we normally are. Around like 7:30 or even
So
8. Yeah.
yes, well, so I would normally get up at like 6:30, and now I'm able to get up at like 8:30. But the problem is, my kid, especially my toddler, has like regressed sleep-wise. So like he comes into the room every morning, like last night at 2, one
Oh,
night at 5, and he just comes in
ouch.
and he starts demanding his breakfast, which is mini muffins and milk every day. And he's like, I want milk and muffins. And he just won't stop. That's his whole tactic. It's just to repeat what he wants over and over and over until you literally are like, oh my God, you're driving me crazy. And then you give it to him. Like it's genius. It works every time. Middle of the
At
night,
at
not as much.
at 5 in the morning
No,
or
no,
no?
no, no.
Okay.
Usually then he will maybe after a few times, I'll get him to be able to fall back asleep. But like what's happening to me is I'll be in a deep sleep. He'll wake me up. I'll fall back into a deep sleep. He'll wake me up again because then he'll get up actually for real 6 or 6:30, and then I'll fall back into a deep sleep, and then I wake up again. So it's almost like I'm getting 3 consecutive naps at the end and being woken up from them. And then when
Yeah.
I finally wake up, I'm just so tired. I can't get out of bed.
That sounds wonderful. What a wonderful picture. If anyone's not yet had a child, then
Yes,
there you go.
it's amazing. It is amazing. But Mother's Day, I thought went okay. I got sent a brunch from this place that like supplies food to hotels and restaurants and caterers.
Oh,
They
that's
sent me a
cool.
bunch of supplies. They sent me 8 dozen eggs. More than that. But like they forgot they were just sending to one family and not a hotel or a
Right.
restaurant. We got a huge crate of mesclun lettuce. We got 6 loaves of brioche bread, a gallon jug of maple syrup, like a
What
shit ton of stuff.
I mean, I feel like you got like sort of UN supplies were diverted to your
It
house,
was
and they
it
should be
was
going
this place
first
is called it's
responders.
called online. You can find it on like Instagram, where chefs shop. And if you shop like a chef is the hashtag. Um, and they just sent us some amazing stuff, and we had a great brunch, and we'll be having great brunches for a few weeks with all the food that they got us. But that went well, and I think we all had a good time until my wife and I got in an argument on Mother's Day night about what movie we should watch on Netflix, which we
Nice,
also got in that same argument on the night before and the night before that. So that was great. That went well.
nice, nice. All right, so let's get into it. Who we
Let's get in. We got to thank some people, as
Yeah,
usual,
we gotta
right?
thank
All
our
the
people.
people who subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can give us ratings on Apple. We would really appreciate 5 stars. And you can go on Patreon and Anchor and give us a little bit of money. We're going to run through the people who do that already. Ryan Miller and MS Babayan on Anchor Check Your Kids at the Door. Chris Coleman, M. Cedeno, 1980. Mallory McKenzie, Miriam Tina Davis are the single dad tier on Patreon. Lindsay Woodruff, Andrea Sandoval, Barbara Geiger, Bill D'Amica, Dana Bose, Jacques Govar, Morning Glow, and the Dad Bod tier for Patreon. Cotton Farmer AZ, Wes Clark, Jennifer Wynn, Julie McCarthy, Paula Polsky on the Father Figure tier, and Mary Williams and Julie Burton, the World's Greatest Dad tier. Thank you guys. We really appreciate the money that helps us do this. And if you want to give us reviews, anybody, if you don't feel like giving us money because we don't deserve it, and frankly, you know what? I don't blame you. You can give us 5 stars. Doesn't cost anything. Write a review if you want. We're up to 208 reviews. I checked today. Let's get to 500.
Yeah.
Let's get to 500. All right. So we're going to get into, so this weekend on Mother's Day, the big surprise was my kid asked us what sex was. He has a really weird way of asking, and we got into it. I think I did a pretty good job. I mentioned it online, and a bunch of people were like, oh my God, I need advice, or this would be funny to talk about. So I thought it would make a good topic about what awkward questions or conversations parents have had to get into. Most of them are around the sex question. Have you had it yet with your kids? The question, not the actual.
Yes, definitely. I have not. It's my wife has taken that bullet.
Wow, with the girls, that must be nice because your girls are older, and that's nice.
Yes. So.
Well, we're going to find out what are some of the crazy conversations parents have had with their kids. What are some of the ridiculous questions and notions that kids have, and then how people handle it. Nobody, I don't think, handled it as well as I did. I'm shocked at how well I did. Let's be honest.
Well,
we'll get into that when we come back after the titles. Is that what we call those? The titles?
The titles?
Or the break?
The credits? Yeah.
The credits?
Right after this.
All right, welcome to the Dad and Buried episode about awkward talks with your kids. Inevitably, when I ask the question, what kind of weird, awkward conversation people have had with their kids, most of the responses revolved around the sex question, which was fine because that's what motivated my question to everybody else. So what happened was on Mother's Day, we were outside. I don't know if we were having a cup of coffee. It was post-brunch or something. The kids had both refused to eat brunch, as they do. But we saw a shitload of bacon. The bacon was so good. I got up and cooked a bunch. And then my wife woke up and I was like, how do I do this? And she cooked the rest because I'm just terrible at cooking. And then my son, my 9-year-old, because this wasn't my 4-year-old who asked this question, got like all nervous and like uncomfortable and just wanted to know about sex. I don't remember exactly way he mentioned it, but we're like, hey, where did you learn about this? And he was like, oh, that show Lock and Key, which is on Netflix. There's just high schoolers who like neck and like, a couple of times. There's no nudity or sex or anything like that. But somehow it's been coming up. And so he was too embarrassed to finish hearing our answer. And then a few minutes later, my wife got him to calm down and then called me in. And, we laid it out there. And at one point I was saying something about how like, you got to love each other. Hopefully, it's a big decision. But he mostly wanted to know about like logistics and what it was. And we're talking about how like men and women are made, their bodies are made to like complement each other. And at one point he was like, so like magnetiles, like they slot together. And I said, yeah, sure. Like magnetiles or Lego. And then Mama Buried made fun of me after the fact, but it got the job done.
Yeah,
I made the mistake. I made the mistake of I don't know if it was a mistake, but I told him like, I tried to describe sperm a little bit and he's sort of fixated on that now. The word, the journey sperm goes on, that kind of stuff. So we got into it, a lot of different ways. And I was surprised. I thought it went pretty well.
I like Lego. Lego is good. Magnetiles, not so much.
Yeah, it's not graphic, right? But,
well, if you play with Legos the way I play with Legos, it's very graphic.
Wow. Yeah. I do not want to know any of the Legos.
That's a lot of, really, that's what sparked a lot of questions for my kids. Is like, Dad, what are you doing? Why are you making those 2 Lego pieces do that?
So it's funny because when a bunch of people were giving their stories about like the awkward conversations they've had or how it went for them, and just a bunch of people just sent the funny questions their kids ask. And so I want to get into some of those to kick this thing off on a lighter note because some of these are really funny. Abby Flett says her kid said, how exactly did the baby come out of your butt? Well, I'll stop you right there, honey. she's like, you're already way off. Nothing came out of my butt, believe me. Nolan93 says, on the way with my husband and son to a basketball game, my 10-year-old son's best friend asked me, what's a clit?
Oh my God.
Not even your kid.
Wow.
Your kid's friend. That reminds me very much. Have you ever seen the movie Summer School? Of course you haven't.
Yes,
Mark Harmon,
of
Courtney Thorne-Smith.
Yeah.
Look at you, Courtney Thorne-Smith. An early celebrity crush.
And what
the
guy at the end? He's like, what happened to you? He's like, my zipper got stuck.
It was in the bathroom. Yeah, my zipper got stuck. Right. So at the end of that movie, I'm not going to do the scene first, but we're driving home. Mrs. Pepe, I'm with my best friend Eric Pepe, who lives next door to me. Mrs. Pepe driving us home from the mall, Milford Fourplex, where we saw the movie. And in the car, either my friend or I asked her, but I think it was me, what this meant, which is like miming a blowjob where you put your fist. I'm telling people who are listening, when you make a fist and make it look like you're pushing a lollipop in out of your mouth, for all the kids out there in case they're listening. And she just laughed and said, I'll tell you when you're older. And that's what Nolanani's her son's best friend saying what's a clit said. I just hope I'm just glad that she didn't ask her husband, because he might not know.
Yeah. Well,
crush Nolanani's husband.
There you go. But what's wrong with the old answer, don't worry about it? Yeah, just
well, that's what Mrs. Pepe said. Mrs. Pepe was like, I'll tell you later. Tell you when you're older.
Yeah. Although don't worry about it is probably the most.
Don't worry about it is antagonistic, though.
Yeah, very antagonistic. It's going to leave that question hanging. But
it also makes the person think you're really cool. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
You don't need to know.
Yeah,
it's a need to know basis.
Exactly. Watch me drive with no hands. Then that's real.
That's what you should worry about.
Exactly.
T.H. Hansen 77 said, her kid said, Mom, what does BJ mean? Have you ever done it? So I don't know if she must have answered what BJ means for him to then ask as a follow-up, have you ever done it? I can't imagine the sequence of events. Have you ever done it? What do you say? Are you shaming me, son? It's 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
So
look, it's complicated. Yeah, it starts with it's complicated. And then
Ms. on Facebook. That's what it means. Whether or not if you've given a blowjob, you have to choose it's complicated.
Yeah, exactly. Everything.
MS Indam says her kid asked, Mom, what is head? Do you get it or give it? I remember not really quite understanding just the phrase head when I was a little kid. I also remember thinking the movie Internal Affairs, because I heard rumors that in Internal Affairs a girl gets fingered under the table, and I thought that was fascinating. Didn't really know what that meant either.
Right. Well,
anyway.
Wait, so what's the answer? Do you give it like I can just see
both? I
can just see the mom at that point pulling out a cigarette, lighting, and be like, "It's complicated."
It's all complicated. But so there's a funny answer at one point where I'm going to mention later where mom just is super dismissive, which is I think what you have to do for a long stretch when you're depending on how young the kid is or what kind of mood you're in. M Plahuda 0614 says my 3-year-old son asked why I have 2 butts instead of a wiener. JD Coleman said she did the body talk, discuss vagina, urethra, and your anus, and her daughter said, like the planet? Gurney 915 says the other night my kid asked, what's a whore? And she said she responded with a bad word. It's good she didn't respond with like somebody's name. Mrs.
Yeah, exactly. Your mother-in-law. Yeah.
Oh my OMG, you can't sit with us with a bunch of underscores in between those words says, my son or my 3-year-old caught me stepping out of the shower and asked why my gross wiener has so much hair.
Yeah, we'll just say you should see your dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer
from the upper deck. MTR 51450 says, I'm divorced. My son asked if I knew if his dad has a big penis because he wants to have one. Tell your son it's not all it's cracked up to be, okay? Mrs. Crystal M said she announced a new pregnancy to their 8-year-old and had to explain how the baby got in mommy's belly. See, that's kind of a reasonable question. Right. How's the baby get in there?
Well, first of all, it starts with FedEx. I mean, specifically the driver, Antonio. And, ipso facto. There you go.
Why's he got to be Antonio?
Why not? Look, dude, trust me. Antonio's.
You speak from experience.
Antonio's getting you.
Mia underscore Cherie underscore T said, when I was pregnant, my niece asked how the baby got out of my belly. So first we had how'd the baby get in there, how'd the baby get out. I feel like the baby get out one's a little bit easier to explain, a little safer. She says that her brother and sister-in-law let her handle it for them. So they let somebody else give their kid, the birds and the bees talk, or at least the very much the where babies come from talk. I assume they were all in public together, and the niece asked her, and they just watched and were like, let's see how she's going to get out of this.
Oh, yeah. And then, you know what? If you're the aunt of this little girl, then all you have to do is just get as graphic as possible.
Oh, yeah. If they're going to make you do it, you make sure you get your money's worth.
First of all, a slow jam comes on. It all starts with some kind of slow jam. Then
it's Back That Thing Up by Juvenile.
Yeah, I was going to say. Some kind of R. Kelly song comes on.
Mom of Twins 1714 says, when my daughter was 4, she asked me where her penis was. She had a twin brother who obviously had one. So then I had to explain in as little detail as possible the difference between girl parts and boy parts. She was full of questions I didn't want to answer. Nobody does. But she was 4, so you don't necessarily have to. Although we're in Brooklyn, we have some very woke friends who did this whole thing real early. My kid's 9. We waited kind of for it to start bubbling up, right? Yeah. For it to become kind of not to like he's 12 where like he's going to grow up like Norman Bates because you refuse to discuss anything with him. But waited for him to get a little curious. Although I know some people that have started a lot younger than that. When did your wife handle it for your kids?
I think it was 8 when she had the talk, and I think it was largely out of. It was starting to go around school. Like there was just
you don't want spoilers, right? Just like me and showing my kids Star Wars. You had to take it in your own hands. You wanted to get spoiled.
Exactly. So you got to show them that early. So just like the talk, you have to show them Star Wars. What's preferably you do both at the same time.
At the same time.
Exactly. And you show in like little sort of downtimes in Star Wars, you start talking about like what a urethra is.
Do you know what slash fiction is? So you know what fan fiction is? What fan fiction is when somebody they co-opt characters and just make their own stories with existing characters, right? Slash fiction is when people do that and turn their stories into like gay sex between. So like Captain Kirk and Picard are in like a gay sex version of it, something, right? So I'm assuming when you give the sex talk, wow, what's The Empire Strikes Back? That's what you're doing. You're doing like Luke and Darth not only are son and dad, they're also in a loving romantic relationship. Right. Yes.
Right. I mean, it's not necessarily loving, I would say,
well,
but it's definitely
hands,
dependent.
Too loving. A little S&M-y. There's costumes and role play.
And a lot of the time, my kids aren't even in the room when I'm explaining this.
No, you're just explaining this, just shutting your eyes and mashing it.
Dad, what are you doing? Why are you talking like this?
All right, Pete, enough of your weird perversions. Let's get back to the podcast. Zombie Mom, this is the one I mentioned earlier. Zombie Mom with 3 M's. My 9-year-old daughter informed me that she does not understand gay sex. I said, not now. I love that. Just like, I'm not dealing with this right now. Exactly. 9 years old. But yeah, that's a little dicey. Dana Bosday said, my kids are 8 and 6. So far, they haven't asked, and I feel like perhaps we should talk about it. What do you think? You know your kids better than I do, right? Like I said, like if it starts to pop up or they start to ask questions, obviously your kids haven't asked yet. I think you want to do it before puberty because they might be terrified if they don't have any idea what's happening, right?
Yeah. Also, I think it's good. We all of our kids are in Brooklyn public school, and I think just being able to like be aware of what's going on and how it all works, I think is better than not being aware.
Yes, I agree. You screw kids up if you don't have any idea. I mean, look at me.
They can make better decisions, I feel like.
100%, right? But you're nervous about giving them too much information. But in most cases, if you present it the right way, the more information, the better.
Exactly. Wait till Empire Strikes Back and then unload with the most graphic.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Mrs. _ Mo1 says she has 3 teens. They had one conversation about STDs, including photos. When I said as much information as possible, I did not mean photos, certainly not of STDs. I wrote a tweet yesterday or Sunday after the thing happened where I said that, just a pro tip when you're giving the birds and the bees talk, like visual aids aren't as effective as you might think. That can backfire. You don't necessarily
Yeah.
want to get into that. You're opening a whole bee's nest there. Mrs. Henderson 0309 has to talk about masturbation with her kids. I forgot about that. We didn't bring that up.
Ugh, I'm gonna have to deal with that with my son.
I'm not
I'm sure.
interested in that one either. Don't Bite Your Friend said, I had to have the sex talk with my son about a year ago. He was 10 at the time. I made it very sciency. The whole sperm and egg, I did that. He asked me how the sperm gets to the egg. When I told him, he said, that is the weirdest thing I have ever heard. This is also how I segued into telling him how babies exit a woman's body. Oh my God, stop. That's even worse. He said, pretty sure he does not want to become a parent at this point in life, which is a great tactic. You scare them straight.
Good job.
Scare them celibate. It's what the Catholic Church tries to do. Torres Fam J says, oh my God, my 7-year-old found Pornhub. I'm the mom. I had to have that chat.
Oh,
He's like,
God.
Does that count as an awkward conversation? Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it does.
Her kid was searching ridiculous type stuff like boy getting penis smashed and somehow wound up, or boy penis getting smashed and somehow wound up on Pornhub with BDSM. He no longer has unrestricted internet access.
Hold on.
And he knows that handcuffs are used by more than just the police.
Wait a second. What do you mean somehow ended up on Pornhub? If you're gonna type those words in, there's only one place you're gonna.
Boy penis getting smashed. There's no other sites for that.
I mean, come on, Mike.
My favorite thing is at the very end of her comment. At the very end of her comment, she says, by the way, we are a normal 2-parent working family with a house in the burbs. As if that has anything to do with anything she just said to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you're normal. First of all, there's almost no such thing as normal, first of all. But sure, yeah, I'm not blaming you for your kid getting on YouTube or Pornhub or whatever. Or should I be?
But this is actually a really good one. This unrestricted internet access. And
yeah, we talked about that on our one of our social media technology episodes.
Social medias and technology. I mean, I think this is part of it, right? Having the information come from you is better. Is so much
incredibly valuable.
Find
the
out
stuff
other
that
ways.
They see out there.
Yeah,
it skews your perception, and if that's the first thing they see, oh man.
Let me ask you: Did your parents have the talk with you? No,
I don't remember. I don't think so.
No one did. My parents.
Well, you think it's a woke parents like a.
We are being so woke right now.
But mainly, also we had more.
Mainly because hold on. The reason why I'm being so woke is because when you type in "boy penis getting smashed," you're gonna end up on Pornhub, and you're gonna want to circumvent that real quick as a parent.
Good point.
Thank you.
Also, we're just better parents. So Little Charmer 80 says, a few months ago, my eldest daughter, who was 5 at the time, was on the toilet going for a number 2. Thanks, Little Charmer 80. She says to me, Mommy, when we eat food, does it come out as a baby? Imagine that if every time you ate, you accidentally procreated.
Well,
I said, no, when you eat food, it comes out as poop on the toilet like you're doing now. Then she goes, how does a baby get in the mummy's tummy? I said, do you really want to know? She said, yes, and I had read that you should be honest. So I said, well, Daddy puts a seed in mummy's tummy. Of course, she said, how? And I was almost cry laughing now. And I said, okay, you really want to know? He puts his willy in the mummy's foo-foo. You're getting real technical here. And that's how the seed gets in there. I couldn't stop laughing, and she was laughing, but sort of nervously, like she didn't really believe me. Well, what's a foo-foo? Maybe that's why she didn't believe you. She's never mentioned it again. So that's another way to get your kid to shut up about it.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I ever heard my mom say the word foo-foo, I'd have a lot more than just sex questions. Crochet Zombie Design says, the sex talk with my 14-year-old girl, she was 7 or 8 at the time and came home from school asking about it. So her daughter's 14 now, was 7 or 8 when she had the talk. Or discussing why her biological dad doesn't want anything to do with her. These are the awkward conversations she's had. That's a rough one. My 5-year-old toddler learning the correct names of body parts and telling every single person she knew or met for the next 2 weeks that she had a vagina, and then asking what body parts they had. That was another awkward conversation she said she had to have. She said the best one was with my 16-year-old sister when she wanted to know if there was a right way for her to perform for her boyfriend. She wanted diagrams and detailed descriptions, the whole 9 yards. Funniest conversation I've ever had. I'm wondering how old she was when her sister was 16 and why she had so much more experience. That's what I want to know. Well, she knew the diagrams?
Well, first of all, where are you going to get all this material for these diagrams? I mean, that's a couple runs to Staples right there.
Maybe they had a teenage brother who probably has a lot of
poster board? Yeah. Good call.
Right.
I have a son and then two daughters, and for basically at bath time and stuff, it's hose versus non-hose.
We do
So
shirts and skins.
one of us has a hose, one of the kids has a hose, the others don't, and
So you're
that's
talking
how
about like garden hose or like rubber
I'm talking.
hoses?
I'm talking about the Willy Wonka that's coming out of my son over there during a bath time. This is how we've talked about it. Just the parts,
That's
the
so
body parts.
disgusting.
Well, that's how we call it. We call it a Willy Woo Woo, and then
Even we just talked about how I don't like foo foo, and now you're talking about willy woo
no,
woos.
we don't have any. Do you have nicknames? You just
No,
call it?
we try to use real names.
Yeah.
Although this is one of the funny things I was just going to mention. My son during our sex talk said he couldn't remember the name of vagina, and he said I just called it a hairy hole. Speaking of hairy hole, you should watch the Snowman with Michael Fassbender, based on some I think Swedish or Norwegian crime novels where the detective's name is Harry Hole. That's how it's translated in
Oh
English, I
God,
believe.
I'm glad you brought that. You landed that one.
I did
Ooh.
land it. It's a good book series, but the movie is a laugh riot. Anyway, Mommy's Inside Voice, who friendly with online. She lives in Vancouver, I believe. It's quite a large Instagram following, and she's really cool. And she said that she used baking to like a baking metaphor to explain sex to her kid. She said, "Dads have long parts so they can put the baby ingredients high up enough that the mom can protect it. Then mom takes the wet ingredients that dad gave her, mixes with the dry ingredients that she has, and that's how she gets the dough. Then she just has to cook it. I may or may not have explained the baby being born as being kind of like toothpaste coming out of the tube. And this sounds all wrong on like 50 different
What
levels.
the hell is going on here? First of
The
all, I feel like
toothpaste
I've
coming out
taken
of the
something.
tube, the dough.
Yeah, no.
Once I heard the phrase wet ingredients, I was out. I'm not interested in this anymore. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So there are a couple more later during like the random section. There's a handful of questions about like, or mentions where people had to talk to their daughters about what a period was and that kind of stuff. Which, again, I assume that's something your wife has handled for you.
Actually, no. I've handled that
The
because I
period
know,
talk.
yeah, because I know the most about it. So it just makes more sense that way.
So Rebecca Marcaccio one says, "Why am I bleeding from my vagina and what am I sticking up there?" is what her daughter asked her. Melly 1980 said, "Even as a woman, having the period talk is so hard. Like, yes, this sucks once a month." Lobotomy with it's Labatomy says what she had to answer what a tampon was and why she was putting it in her butt. Well, like the first, like Abby Flett said, let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
So Amanda Jillybean says again, the period talk was the most awkward conversation she had to have with her kid too. And she said, I wasn't ready for the question, but I wasn't ready on Mother's Day. Like, I guess some parents are maybe proactive, but if you tell them when they're not receptive or interested, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. Had you ever thought about it or talked about it with your
No,
wife?
like have I talked to my wife about here's how we're going to approach
Yeah.
it? No, I think we both knew generally like we want to be matter of fact, we want to give real information, we want to be honest. You don't want to make it weird because it's aside from the stuff that inspires them to ask, it's their first real contact with the concept of it and stuff, right? And you don't know who knows how formative that can be. So if you're like weird about it, that can be weird. So you try to be forthright without being
Yeah.
give more information than you need to.
One thing I think may have been a mistake is doing the motion. The sort of like the pumping motion.
The pumping,
Yeah,
pumping.
sort of like
So
standing in the middle of the room doing the pumping motion.
my toddler
That
does
doesn't
that.
land as well. Yeah.
My
Oh,
toddler, 4-year-old, the hammer, doesn't quite do that, but he'll put his hands on his hips and he'll like gyrate his hips like Elvis, and he'll go like this, the whole time he's doing it.
perfect.
And then at one point, he put his hands on the table and started shaking his butt like he was twerking. I don't know. I don't know if this is in Minecraft or something.
Yeah, it's in
Let me tell you,
Minecraft.
He's
No,
got moves. So the next big topic that people said they had awkward conversations about was death, right? Obviously. So Ketchum Kelsey says, we don't talk to my mom, so my son assumes she was dead, which felt awkward. So that's not only a potential death conversation, but like we're adults, we don't get along, even though we're family members. Like that's a tough conversation on its own. Have you done have you had to have the death talk? Have you unfortunately had any tragic deaths in the family or anything like that? To
Haven't had any deaths yet, but
like even
definitely.
pets?
Oh yes, we did. We had a hamster that died on the first day that we brought it back. That was
Did you do like a funeral?
horrific. No, we just brought it back to Petco with everybody. It was like this.
What's the
It was like a
receipt?
Monty. It was like a Monty Python. So it was like, this is a dead hamster, and we just
Can I
like
ask you something?
well,
How much does a hamster run you?
I mean, we're talking. It was upwards of $4 or $5.
Is that true?
Yes,
It's that cheap?
It's a dwarf hamster. Yeah, it's not the big boys. Smaller.
What's a dwarf hamster?
It's like a little super cute little. It's very small. It's like
I like a ferret. You like ferrets? Like the
I like
movie?
I like the idea of a ferret. I don't
Mogo
like
and Pogo or something?
I don't like the idea of having to like entertain a ferret for hours on end running around
You
my
don't want
house.
another child in your home?
Maybe one that's more that like yeah, can pay attention more. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe ferrets can. They're pretty bright. So Little Church CDN says, my 4-year-old has a lot of questions about death. We struggle on how much we say, right? And that's the thing, too. You don't want to scare them. You don't want to, like, violate their innocence. We've had some general conversations, more about, like, the concept of, you know, everybody dies at some point. But how much, like, especially, like, the 4-year-old, how much he's grasped by the reality of it, I don't know.
Oh no, yeah, I mean we've talked about death like often. The
But that's the
kids are
thing. You
always
don't want to make it
curious,
taboo. Just like
but
with
they're
sex,
so
you can't
curious.
make
Yeah.
it. You can't add a stigma to this thing where like they have weird hangups around it.
Well, first, your grandparents, or rather, your parents, or even your grandparents, that the kids
Yeah.
are around, and then they're not around anymore, and you have to explain where they are. Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
a good thing. So
and you just
Lassie
say,
B. Carey says that she's had the death/heaven conversation, like maybe not awkward, but hard when they're little, right? Not so skinny cook says explaining death is hard. It's not awkward, but really sad. Um, like Mary Babayan, one of our Patreons, I think, our patrons, I think via Anchor, said that she had to explain to her 5-year-old about death because there was a death in the family, which is often what spurs it on, right?
yeah, and I think the most important thing is just to say it happens randomly. It can happen at any point
Anytime.
to anyone,
You
and what
cannot stop
happens
it.
is it just immediately will just
Mhm.
take over. Sometimes it can be excruciatingly painful, but also other times it's
Only if you deserve it.
not as painful. So don't worry. It's totally random. I could go, you could go
At any time.
at any point.
Aaron Robert Realtor said that she had to have the religion talk about heaven and God. She's not religious, but her family is, so it was very confusing to her daughter. That's a little bit samey with like my kids,
Oh my
where
God.
like my parents are pretty, I don't know, they're not pretty religious. They go to church every weekend. They believe in that stuff. And then like just being like, yeah, what they believe is bullshit.
There is
You know, to your
nothing
kids, it's
there is
confusing.
nothing better than listening to you explain to your kids, you being the person who's not religious but was raised religious,
Yeah.
explaining to your kids like, oh, Jesus, and how does this happen? You're like, look, here's what I know. This guy was magic, came down, had a son, it's 100% human, 100% God. Then he got, I don't know. Look, that's all I know. You
Well,
know what I
what's
mean?
hard for me is I am a little bit, I hold religion in a bit of disdain, but I don't want to necessarily cloud my kid's judgment, right? I want him to have an open mind. He likes mythology and all that stuff. I try to let him know that that's sort of what I think it is. There essentially is mythology, but impugning somebody else's beliefs is not really for me to do unless they're a Scientologist, because that's freaking absolutely insert. Being a Mormon, there's a lot of them listen to me. That was like, it's like 200 years old. I mean, that's pretty wacky too. Like
Yeah.
anything stays around long enough, it suddenly gains credibility for some reason. In 500 years, Scientology will probably be like the #1 religion in the universe, just
Yeah.
because it survived. Anyway,
No, I'm with
I
you.
don't say that to my
I
kids.
don't think I don't spin it, but it is funny. Listen, like as I hear myself like giving these explanations as to what's going on, and the kids are coming back with like, what about this? And I'm like, look,
I don't know.
I don't know. This is what I know. I'm passing it on to you. I don't know.
Do with it what you will.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jennifer with a PH instead of an F, Jennifer 182 says she had to answer what happens to dead bodies. Her 6-year-old and 9-year-old asked her at the bus stop. I don't know, but you want to see one? We can watch Stand By Me. Check it out. I don't think I've had to have that chat yet. I don't know. Burn them up. I'm getting cremated. Do what you want. You make your own choice, kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's drug question.
Just simply tell I'm being cremated because God forbid a metal spike goes through my coffin and gets hit by lightning. I'm coming back. I can't help who I'm going
Oh
to
my
come
God.
after. I mean,
never even thought of that.
I don't know. If you haven't brushed your teeth in a long time and I keep asking you, I don't know what my corpse is going to do. Are they going to come after you? There's probably like a 20% chance that that's going to happen.
Son, and if they do, please kill me. I'll be living a tormented. I'm not your father anymore at this point.
Yeah.
I give you permission to kill me. So speaking of, another one of the topics that came up for our conversation was drugs. Swab Bike Dude said I had to discuss what CBD oil is and why my kid would want to use it. Whether that's the drug or not, I don't really know how it's classified, but there's no THC, right? So it's more like an essential oil that you smoke or vape.
No,
even dose.
You just drop
the
exactly. A little dropper thing.
My wife uses it sometimes for her MS.
Yeah, you know what? From what I understand about it, it really just it's like an anti-inflammatory. Yeah. So it's like,
but I don't know how credible it is. But I think it works. Like my wife notices if she's been taking it for a while and then stops.
Yeah.
Whether it's placebo effects or not. I'm not a doctor. You know what?
You're not?
I'm not.
This was a medical show.
I considered it, and then I realized there's no way I can do it. I would not have succeeded. So Ballman3 says her kids asked them about smoking pot years ago, like back when they were young, and they had to convince their kid that it wasn't going to ruin his chance to be a cop when he grows up. Just because we smoke weed in high school doesn't mean you can't become a policeman. The background check doesn't go that deep.
Hold on. First of all, kid, relax.
Yeah, seriously.
You're already acting like a cop. Man, this guy's like born to be a cop.
Hey, good for him.
Hey, Dad, if you mess my chances up of being a cop, I'm coming for you. Dude.
Does it say how old he is? I hope he's 5. No, it doesn't say his age. I hope he's 5. He already knows. Imagine living in the house with that kid.
Oh, my God.
Every once in a while, my kid thinks he's being funny by like calling me or my wife out for like having another drink or something. It makes me so angry. Fucking. That's probably not a good sign that it makes me angry, but you know what? I'm trying to be honest on here.
There you go.
All right, so now we go to some random comments and conversations and questions that people had. So Fox's mama said that her son is worried about the 5th grade movie. He thought the school would show him porn. First of all, I think I'd like to go back in time and go to the school when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah,
what school is showing you porn? Why would your kid think that? First of all, what's the 5th grade movie? What does that mean?
The 5th grade movie is Smashed Penis.
On Pornhub.
Is boy getting smashed penis? What does that
mean?
Haven't you seen it?
5th grade movie. Oh. They watch every year in 5th grade. They watch a movie, like one movie. I don't understand the whole premise of the question.
Well, good job including it, because this is really,
I thought it was funny.
Really scintillating.
I thought it was funny that the kid was scared of that. Kristen Conley said that she's nervous about the dangers of, or she had to have the dangers of the internet / porn talk. And there were so many whys she had no answer to. Like, exactly. Why does he have a ball in his mouth? That kind of thing. Right?
Yeah. Why he have so many balls in so many places? Yeah, exactly.
Why is that adult man wearing a diaper? Look, I don't have answers to these questions.
You know what? Because it makes Mike feel comfortable when he's eating his cereal. Okay?
You know what? No, because people pay to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the guy of this podcast. Lexosaurus Lex says her kids asked if the cats are boys, then why don't they have testicles?
Ooh,
because we paid to have them removed. We paid to have them removed because they're problematic.
You're gonna want to pull up a chair, son. It's
yeah.
Gonna take a while.
That's when you pull up the YouTube. Here you go.
Yeah. My first.
Mandy Jilly Bean. Oh, we mentioned that the period talk. This was the period section. I don't have anything to say about the period talk. I respect you ladies for enduring it, and I curse the God who bestowed it upon you. Melly 1980s already did that one. I'm really screwing up. Okay, so this is a tough one that I wouldn't even know how to answer. Brig_Og says she had to answer why mommy's skin is brown and daddy's skin is white. He was 2.5 years old. So I said I don't know how to answer this, but I think this is sort of an ideal situation in terms of like you have the ability to help frame someone's worldview, right? And merely by, so some things you need to take seriously, but like not pretend about. Like with the sex stuff, you want to be open, and so they don't get hangups. And then with something like this, you try, or like a gay sex question or gay marriage question, you try to be as like, in the ideal version of the world, like, hey, everybody can love who they want, that kind of thing. And like, you don't necessarily bring what like the real world practicality of it can be, which can often be kind of ugly. You just try to endow a young kid with like this open-hearted view of the way things are, right? Which I think, you know, if you can show them by example, that's the key way to do things, which is why you and I are announcing tonight that we're going to get married. We want to show kids that two men can love each other.
I was going to say, Mike, what podcast is this? This is not the Dad Fairy podcast. Like, this is moving.
But do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
when you have little kids, if you do occasionally like get high and want to talk about the great plans you have for being a parent, one of the things you'll say is be like, I want to teach them that like anything is possible and there are no barriers and everybody can love everybody all they want, like hippie shit, right?
Yeah.
That in a lot of ways would be great. And you want to like teach kids that that's the way the world is, or that's how like you are if you're a good person, how you believe, but it doesn't always work out.
You know what's amazing is that so my daughter's in 7th grade, and already, you know, she knows several of her friends are gay, and you know, boy and girl, and it's so crazy because you're talking about boyfriend and girlfriends, but now as a dad, I'm being talked about with girlfriends and boyfriends and boyfriends, and it's so like completely the whole worldview, my worldview has changed because of it through that lens.
Right.
So it's actually, I think it's so great.
The kids are effortlessly woke. They don't even think of it as woke. It's just how they are. We're woke because like it takes us a second to adapt to it. And then when we say that like people are suspicious and they try to mock you by saying woke, right? But it's our kids teaching us, Pete.
Oh my, okay, stop. Let's get back to dick jokes.
What? I got a lot of love to give.
All right.
So another example is Anna Estelle Rode said that she had an awkward conversation trying to explain transgender, and then her oldest kid asked if you can choose the sex of your baby, and they had misunderstood, so they started to explain transgender people, which is tough if you don't want to have that conversation yet. Like, oh, can you choose the sex of your baby? And then like, well, no, like you can choose your own sex later in life, depending on how you feel. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, can I manipulate genes? Did I ever tell you I was in science class with our mutual friend, Tim, biology? We were doing genetics, and he asked the teacher if it were possible for a woman to give birth to a snake. Sorry, Tim.
No, you're not.
True story.
But
nice
there's a skit out there on it's Comedy Central or something where the dad has the talk with his son and starts to go into it. He's like, look, when a man loves a woman, and the son's like, hold on, Dad, what about when a man loves a man? And he's like, no. And then, you know, basically like proceeds to be schooled by like
all
his
iterations.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, there's a fluidity, and some people are on the spectrum, and da.
Oh,
and then, yeah. And then
the dad's like, what?
At the end of it, the dad's like, wait, what? How does it work? Okay. That's great.
See, but that's a funny way of presenting what you were just saying, that like the kids grow up with this stuff and they don't even give it a second thought. Right. And for us, it's just the new generations. And I think we're getting more open and more inclusive every day.
Yeah.
Except for the people that vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They're trying to make America great again by going back to the 1860s.
Yep.
Not what progress is.
No,
is it, Pete?
Something wrong. I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong.
I think it sounds like a song. There's something happening here, right? Buffalo Springfield. Anyway, the Public Enemy samples that for the He Got Game soundtrack. It's fucking great. You should check it out after this.
Will do. All right. What else we got?
So, no, I wanted to bring the I thought this was the funniest comment of the whole thing. And we'll wrap it up with this. So B. Haley 1104 said that her toddler discovered that his penis can fit in an open shampoo bottle. So we had to have the talk about using the penis appropriately.
There we go.
We've all been there.
We have all been there. Every shower.
Every shower now. That's up your butt. That's when you find out the bottle goes up your butt. Be honest. Don't lie to the people.
Adam Sandler. Yeah, exactly.
Adam
Take the
Sandler at a
shampoo
medium
bottle
pace.
out of my, yeah.
So before we go, we did have a few comments on YouTube from our last couple episodes, from the Hardcore Quality Time episode, which was a couple weeks back, about being forced to bond with your kids doing family activities. We mentioned the one woman said that her toddler was like eating fistfuls of dry rice, and the other one was throwing it all around the kitchen. I think we made a little bit of fun of Cassafras 25, who said that she just wanted to clarify that she was attempting to put together a sensory bin with her kids, not just feeding them uncooked rice. So the kid was just grabbing it and eating it. She said, I try to be a Pinterest mom sometimes, by which she means like do those elaborate design and home crafts and stuff. But the kids always ruin it, which is the thing. You can't really be, you can't be a Pinterest moms don't exist in a vacuum, Pete.
Yep. Where do they exist?
They exist on the internet, and that's it. It's all bullshit. No, I can't do any of that stuff. My wife sometimes copies Pinterest stuff for birthday parties or puts her own spin on some stuff. She doesn't do it a ton, because if she did it a ton, she wouldn't be the kind of person I would be interested in spending the rest of my life with. But since she does it rarely and does it well, it's impressive.
You are interested in spending the rest of your life with her.
And the next comment, Terry K. Depends on how much Pinterest she gets into.
Yeah.
She says, oh, man, I love That's Inappropriate. So I was on, not only was I on That's Inappropriate's podcast a few months back, I was on a recent live with my wife with the Marriage and Martinis gang and the dude dad and his wife. And That's Inappropriate. We had a little live thing on Facebook, and she was saying she loves it. And sometimes not having social media really screws me, because she is sad about the fact that she missed that. So you should follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'm sorry, not us, me, because Pete doesn't have social media accounts. Dad and Barrett on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you'll never miss one of my stupid appearances. My hair, if you haven't seen it, is kicking it. I've been showing that off a lot on my Instagram stories. People are loving it when I talk about my hair and my stories. The other day, I did an Instagram story about how my kids love pears and I don't like them. And after I finished recording it, my wife looked at me and just goes, riveting. You know what? Sometimes you need to fill some time. It's quarantine, right?
Stewed pears. That's the kind of content
like
we can
pears?
accept. I love pears.
Do
They're
you
great.
really?
Yeah. I don't get them that often, but I do actually like them.
What was the produce like growing up in England?
It wasn't, I can't remember. It wasn't awesome. The thing I can't get my head around is apples. Apples are so much better today than they ever.
Well, there's so many more kinds.
I know. Can we just take a moment to be like 2020 is everything we thought it could be if we just focused on apples?
Just focus on the apples. So years ago,
come on,
they
taste like candy.
Years ago, a friend of mine told me to be on the lookout for a new type of apple called the Jazz apple.
Oh my god!
And this is like, I don't know how anyone in the world would be in the pipeline for newly developed apples, but somehow he was.
Yo.
I've never had it. If anybody out there has had a Jazz apple and knows it exists and knows if it's good, please let me know, because I'm very curious. I've never had it corroborated.
Yeah, I can't. The reason I don't get pears is because either the waiting period from them being super hard to them being perfect.
Mush. Yeah.
There's like it's like a exponential graph where it's like hard, and then immediately goes to mush. So you got to get it right. Yeah.
Been there. It's called premature ejaculation. What's the sex episode?
Oh my god. Yeah, not the crude episode though. Come on.
You know, I feel like I can only see my head here, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm looking a fair amount like Paul Rudd tonight.
Okay. I don't know. You have this fascination. I don't know. I can't. Oh, okay.
Totes my goats. Isn't that something he says? Totes my goats.
You even affected your voice.
Does he have any famous catchphrases? Totes my goats. Hey, look at us. Hey.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. He's just an adorable person, basically.
He is adorable. I would like to be his friend.
Well, Mike, you just keep doing what you're doing.
Maybe I really know how to wrap up a show.
Right? You really do.
Look, if you want to hear some more of this, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. You can give us 5-star reviews on Apple. You can throw us some money on Patreon or Anchor. You can comment on YouTube. And I have a Facebook page, and I have a podcast group on Facebook, which for people who don't have Instagram, I'm starting to post the topic questions there, and I'm realizing now, even though I did that, I didn't collect any of the answers from the podcast group. So as of now, there's no incentive, but there will be moving forward. Keep me honest. Go on there and give answers to your questions there, because I'll post it, or to my questions. And in the meantime, stay safe. That means you, Pete.
Thanks, Mike.
One of these days we'll get back together in person.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. All right. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
I don't know why you would still be watching This Isn't a Marvel Movie, no matter how much I look like Paul Rudd, which you can deny it all you want. It's there in the eyes, I think. I'm young looking like him. If you enjoyed the podcast, which you obviously did, or you wouldn't be listening still, sign up on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to. Comment here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We want to hear from you. Comments, questions, dirty jokes, money, all the money you can give us. We'd love it all. Catch you next time.